Hi, I'm Moby. That's me. You can see the shadow there. That's me holding the camera. So I've written a book, and it's called Porcelain. There it is. And the book takes place from 1989 until 1999. And it starts off with me, that's me, living in an abandoned factory in a crack neighborhood. And at the beginning of the book, I was very, very broke. That's me. Those are my empty shelves. That's a broken window. I was making around $3,000 or $4,000 a year and living in this abandoned factory. And I had no running water, no bathroom. But I did have the ability to make music because I had a tiny little studio in the abandoned factory. That's me. And I also spent a lot of time practicing my DJing, because all I really wanted was to move to New York and get a job as a DJ and get a record deal. I also spent my time teaching Bible study because I was a very serious Christian. Some helicopter or something going overhead. So that's me teaching Bible study to people. Then I got a big break. I got a job DJing in New York City, which is what I'd always wanted. That's New York City there. And this was New York City in 1989, 1990. And it was a dark, dangerous, crack-filled, gang-filled, cheap, filthy place. But I got a job DJing at Mars, which at the time was the coolest nightclub on the planet. I didn't know how to draw myself DJing there, so imagine DJing. Oomph, 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 oomph. And I got a very cheap little apartment on 14th Street. That's me in my cheap little apartment. That's New York. And then after DJing at Mars for a while, I got my first record deal. That's me. That's the record company. That's the handshake. Because even though I had a record deal, I didn't actually get paid anything for it. Which was okay though, because I was living in New York, I was DJing at the coolest club in the world, and I had a record deal. Even if the record company didn't have a name, or I didn't get paid anything, and they'd never actually released any records before they signed me. But I was happy. And I was DJing, and I was playing techno, and I was playing hip hop, and playing house music. That's me DJing. Oomph, oomph, oomph. Playing dancehall reggae. Doom, 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 doom. I'll never do that again, don't worry. I even found myself DJing at sex clubs, which was very strange because I was a very serious Christian. And then I started DJing at a lot of raves and clubs, staying out until 5 o'clock in the morning, DJing for transvestite parties and sex clubs and raves. And the whole time, I was a serious Christian, teaching Bible study, reading the Bible, and praying. Then one day, after watching Twin Peaks, I wrote a song called Go. And Go used some of the strings from Twin Peaks, and somehow, by some bizarre twist of fate, it became a hit in England. And this was the height of the rave scene, and Go became this very surprising, strange rave anthem. So I found myself flying to England to be on top of the pops and to play at raves and to travel around the UK, either DJing or playing live. And then I started touring and doing more touring and like flying to Germany and flying to Los Angeles and flying back to the UK and DJing more and touring more. And it was great. And I put out some more records, some of which became successful. And the whole time I was sober, that's sober, and I was a Christian. This went on for a few years of putting out records and having bad relationships, and it was very exciting. And then one night, New Year's Day, 1995, I was in San Francisco. I don't know why Florida looks so big. It's kind of like a gigantic nose or something. So I was in San Francisco, and after 8 years of sober Christianity, I drank. And I got very drunk. And felt like I was reunited with my best friend, which was liquor. And I started questioning my faith. I started questioning everything. I didn't question my veganism. I'd been a vegan since 1987, but everything else I questioned. I questioned dance music. I started dating some very questionable people, some strippers, some prostitutes, and just drank pretty much the whole time. I also started playing guitar again. I had grown up playing in punk rock bands, and I found myself suddenly very excited by the world of heavy metal and punk rock, listening to Pantera, Sepultura, and Slayer, and Bad Brains and Black Flag, and I decided to make a punk rock record. So I made a very angry, very dark, very difficult album, and it confused the record company, it confused my fan, it confused my manager. Not surprisingly, it didn't sell very well. In fact, it sold terribly. No one came to the shows. It was a very depressing time. And whether it was related or not, I started having terrible, terrible panic attacks. That's me. That's panic. The wide eyes, the fear, the desperation. So, as things fell apart, the only thing that worked was drinking. So, I drank more, and I drank more, and I drank more. The tour ended for the punk rock record called Animal Rights. Very few people came to see it. And around this time, I also had some personal tragedy. Someone very, very close to me died. And around the time that someone very close to me died, I also lost my record deal. That's me. That's the record company. That's my way of saying that I lost my record deal. So, I found myself, 1998, in this drunken, panicking hole without a record company, in the city of my dreams, but the city that was becoming harder and harder for me to live in. And I decided to write my one last album. So I went into my studio, and I started writing music. And I came up with some songs like Porcelain, and Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad, and Natural Blues. And I thought, okay, I've lost my record deal, but I'll make this one last record, and maybe my friends at Mute Records will put it out, which they did. The book ends before the album Play has been released, with me, hungover. That's me, hungover. In New York, the city of my dreams, but I was convinced that my career was over, and so at the end of the book, I'm sure that I've made this record that no one will listen to, and that my career had come to an end. So, other things happened. Well, of course, because the book has about 300 pages, but broadly speaking, that's what happened from 1989 to 1999. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy the book. Bye.